All right, guys, let's talk about double flip ducking under. Basically, meaning that you're going to go from 1 1/4, either hands and knees here, or stomach drop, which is more popular, and you're going to actually flip over your first double flip. This can be really scary for a lot of athletes, so it definitely needs to be done progressively, step by step, and very controlled. You don't want athletes just hucking, chucking a double front flip and hoping for the best, because basically what that means is that they are skipping all of these developmental stages, all of these different steps that they're going through that they'll need to understand later on. Anyone can just throw a double flip, lean forward, and hope for the best. But it's an athlete that really knows where they are and when they're about to land and all these other things that make an athlete really, really good. It isn't just can I memorize double flips, it is can I understand each part of the flip. Now, what you're seeing here is the idea that I want him to do the flip, and then I actually want him to kind of do a shoulder roll. I don't want him to go straight overhead because it's his first double flip. So all of a sudden he's getting a little bit nervous. He doesn't know where he's going. It's very simple to kind of open up and freak out and have an accident. So what we do is actually teach to go around the side a little bit at first. Because in the worst case scenario, you just get a bit of a sore neck and you kind of take the shoulder rather than taking it all on your head. So we go a little bit sideways, which in traditional gymnastics is thought of as being bad and showing people that they're just going to have bad circuits and bad habits because now everything's going to be sideways. I don't think that's true at all. I think from what I've seen and from what the literature shows is that your athlete needs to have the best neural connection on all the skills. You can't just make them think, well, here's the one way to do it, and it'll always be like that. If you've seen our tutorial about the blindfolded trampolining, you'll realize that there's a visual adaptation happening in the air along with this natural sort of reflex of memorizing where you are in the air. You need to have both. So when you build your athletes, get them to understand that they can start off by doing 1 1/4, then they kind of do a sideways roll, then they kind of fix it over time by gradually going more over top. This is an easy way to get all athletes basically doing double flips. Because remember, a double flip is a double flip, right? Only in competitive traditional gymnastics do they determine that it has to be done this one way. The body still looks at it and says, oh my God, we're just rotating all over the place. What's happening? So it's almost like you need to be able to have the athlete think that it doesn't just always have to go over top. It can go a little bit around the side to protect the neck. It can go over the other side to balance everything out. It can go over top, and a lot of people will have different like blocks like cheeses and things like that to help this work faster. But another option is to not just have to go linearly at it. You can actually teach it around the side and then straighten it up over time. As you can see here with this little guy, he's actually just freaked out about jumping onto his back. I'm not going to be worrying about perfect backflip over the head and all those sort of technical things. I just want his brain to get comfortable with moving and just rotating around some axis. I think a lot of coaches tend to make it a yes or no situation, a one or a zero, an on or off. And I don't think you can do that in coaching. I think everyone can build it slightly differently their way. And this is just another option of ways that you can build it up and have the athlete go through a very progressive step-by-step thought process of how to do a double backflip. One of my rules of thumb for young athletes learning to do doubles and triples and things like that is that when you want to duck over your first double flip, whether it's forwards or backwards, you need to be able to do a 1 1/4 backflip to back or a front 1 1/4, either hands and knees or stomach, onto mats at shoulder height or more. If they can't jump on a mat that is about their shoulder height or more and get the first flip done by that point, then they will not have enough time to be able to get over the next flip. So it's almost like I need them done 1 1/4, 1 1/2 rotations by the time they get to the vertex of their jump. And then I know that they'll have more than enough time to figure out the last little bit. And it's from there, it's actually just finding where your feet are, and it's not really a danger. Some coaches like to hand spot backflips. I do as well. And if you haven't seen that tutorial from us, please check it out as well. It's very easy to get them to do the right technique when you can actually manipulate every piece of the puzzle. But if you have a big class of 20, 30 kids and there's only a few coaches there, or you're at a trampoline park or even on your own garden trampoline at home, Stack up some mats, start throwing yourself over these mats as a starting point. If you can make it as high as possible, then you're guaranteeing yourself that you can go up and give enough room to be able to do your double flips. If all you're doing is a front flip to a mat that is the same level as the trampoline, you have no idea how much height you have, and it's very easy to get confused in the air. So as a rule of thumb, don't even worry about doing doubles until you can do front flips and back flips on mats at least this high. Then you can start thinking about, all right, what's the next step? And I just said that basically this drill is so that the athletes can kind of go through it themselves if you can't stand there hand spotting each one. And there's a lot of times where that really is the case for coaching, but you should then still be able to use some of the other methods: spotting belts, bungees, foam pits, hand spotting, things like this will still help. So it's not saying that you can't do those things and you should do this instead. It's saying that given the circumstances that your gym is offering, this is another option of ways to get athletes at least over the fear of their initial double flips without you having to hand spot everything. This allows you to start getting them to think about it while you're focusing on little Johnny over there doing something completely different, or a parent that just came in is asking a whole bunch of questions about the program. So having drills like this where they're not so technical, but yet still getting the neurons firing, making some connections about how this would work in the future, definitely has a place in training. Don't think everything has to be 100% technical. Getting the athlete just over their fears with good drills like this that they can do independently also has a lot of benefit. You should just be focusing on the idea that you need to go up as much as you can before the flip. By simply putting mats there, you basically force the athlete to have to think that way. I see a lot of coaches that just basically tell the kid to jump higher or be more straight or go up more. And these kind of terminologies don't really actually help the athlete because they don't understand what that means. But when you say, hey, here's a mat, I need you to be able to get on top of it, and you start off with one mat, then two, then three, and you build it up. But getting them to basically have to go through those motions is a lot more effective than trying to verbally communicate what you're trying to get the athlete to do. And as you can see with the double backflips here, we're asking them to go a little bit around the side at first so that when they land in a bad compromising way, the shoulder and the torso takes more of the impact, and it's a lot bigger and stronger than your neck. So I would rather the athlete get over the fear of doing these double backflips by knowing that there's an escape route here going a little bit around the side rather than them thinking it's an all or nothing game. A lot of athletes think that training is all or nothing. Either I get the skill or I don't. But I don't think it's like that. I think it's a lot more understanding that there's a lot of different escape strategies, a lot of different steps that can be done that can at least get the athlete to make the smallest steps as possible. And then you start taking it to the mat here. Again, you can go a little bit sideways. Sometimes the athlete doesn't need to go sideways. Sometimes the athlete will just say, no, I got it, and they'll go. And as a coach, this happens a lot more than people like to talk about. But the idea is that it's just another tool if the athlete is struggling with getting their doubles. So just remember, this is not the only way to get kids to do double flips. A lot of coaches don't like the idea of going around the side, but I think as long as it's done in proper context, strategically, both sides are being utilized and they understand exactly why you're doing it. I haven't seen any long-term repercussions with any athletes I've ever worked on with this. They're doing doubles and triples straight over their head. Once they get more used to it, it is just another stepping stone as an athlete where you can start thinking about ways to just get the brain used to doing double flips more than anything. Thanks, guys.